Hello everyone, this is Rick and welcome to Astral Club. This is The Council Seizes Me for Questioning. Before we get started, I just want to make a couple announcements. This will be the final podcast for 2022. I'm going to be going up to North for the holidays to visit my family and my daughter. So you won't hear from me again until January 4th, which I think is great for everyone. I mean, I could use a holiday, and I'm sure you could use one too. You've got plenty of things to do, I'm sure, to prepare for the holidays rather than listen to me yak on and on about astral projection. So look for me again January 4th. Of course, there's still Patreon. If you'd like to support the channel, you can do so. Like Luke Dreamer, who is Astral Ascended. He's new. JK is new, Astral Master. And Remco De Lille is an Astral Scout. And they're all new patrons who have supported Astral Club, and I thank them. If you'd like to get in on supporting Patreon, you get no commercial, advanced videos on Sunday. There's an email where you can talk back and forth. You can ask questions, I can answer them. And of course, we can share experiences. Next up, private lessons. If you're interested in a private astral projection lesson, whether you're a beginner or whether you're an advanced student, I'd be glad to work with you. If you're interested, you'll find an email to contact me in the description, along with, of course, the Patreon link. And you can always contact me and I'll send you the necessary information. Now, I don't know if all of you recall, because this goes back a little ways, but during Astral Guide School, one of the tasks was to go to a primitive planet and see if you could get life started there. I ended up being assigned to a particular planet. It was, I believe, based on my amateur astronomy, that it had a red dwarf as its sun, and it was a solid Earth-like type planet, despite the fact that it was still very early in its evolution. The sky looked pink. The water looked to me to be reddish. The land that was poking up all seemed to be very volcanic in nature and black. There were volcanic spouts belching all kinds of minerals and organic particles of some sort, or at least the beginnings of those things were being pumped into this primitive world. Using some of my astral abilities, a little bit of luck, and some lightning, I was able to jumpstart some life on that planet. Very primitive, microscopic life. I've wondered about it since then. And by the way, if you'd like to review the episode, I will have a link in the description. The actual title, it's in the Astral Guide School playlist, that if you'd ever like to look at that again. There's a bunch of playlists if you're interested in space or Astral Guide School and aliens or a wide variety of things like time travel. But the title of this Astral Guide School episode was Astral Visit to a Primitive Planet. And I'll have a link in the description, if you'd like to come and visit that one again. And maybe I'll pin it in the comments if you'd like to check that out again. At any rate, I was thinking about it, and I've been thinking for a long time about going there and progressing into the future and seeing if anything happens, if life develops or if it becomes extinct or what. So I left my body and projected to that planet and was there fairly quickly. I still had a good idea of its particular vibrational signature, and I got there and it looked very much the same. So I wanted to progress into the future. Now, I was using the Earth as kind of a guide. I don't know whether the Earth is ahead of the evolutionary curve or whether we're behind. It's hard to know. But I do know now that the current thought is that multicellular life evolved somewhere now around 1.5 billion years ago. And we're talking about macro multicellular life. They recently found out it's a lot older than we thought. Before we thought it was like around 600 million, but now they've pushed it back to about 1.5 billion. So I decided to progress some billions of years into the future. That took quite a bit of energy, quite a bit of will, and to push through. Eventually, I did, and some things had changed, and some things hadn't changed. The moon that this particular planet had was still there. It was further away than it had been before, but it was still there. It was a substantial moon. I don't know if it's quite as big as ours was, as relevant to the size of our planet, but it was a good sizable moon, which, as anyone knows, is a good idea to stabilize a planet. Otherwise, they tend to shift. And that can cause quite a bit of environmental havoc. It happens to Mars every few million years, for instance, because they don't have a sizable moon. The red dwarf star had not changed. It looked very much the same. And red dwarfs are famous for just how stable the darn things are, which is one of the reasons why a lot of our planetary searches involve red dwarf stars. Because they're fairly stable for a long period of time. And when you want to do evolution, that helps, because stability helps for life to grow. Anyway, when I looked down at the planet, though, things had changed quite a bit. There was a lot more land, and it wasn't all volcanic anymore. The water had turned a bluish green, which seemed to me to be very promising. So I went down to the near the surface of the planet, and I started flying over the ocean looking for anything that was interesting. And finally, I came close to a shoreline of a small continent, you might say. Maybe it was something like the size of I don't know, a quarter of Australia, something like that. Anyway, I was looking around the shallow waters, hoping to find something of interest, because many times, if you're looking for life along the continental shelf here on Earth, is always a good idea, because a lot of life congregates in those areas. Well, soon I noticed, at first I thought it was a little bit of algae just kind of floating in the water, in the shallows. But then I saw little legs come out the bottom, and it looked like they were, doggy paddling and making like a little bit of progress. And at first I thought, oh, what's this? And I looked closer, and it was one organism. It looked like there was a plant that was part of this organism, which probably also had animal characteristics. And my theory is that perhaps this animal was using its plant symbiote as a way to generate energy through photosynthesis. That's my theory, at least. So I was extremely rapt in watching this thing and felt a little bit of pride about my little, leaf paddler. I guess that's their informal name. I guess I should probably think up some scientific name or other. But what really got interesting is that it started heading towards, you could tell it was having difficulty. There's a little bit of a tide going on. It was struggling. And then I saw it link up with another one. And they kind of linked up together. And then another one linked up. And then another one linked up. And before you know it, you had 4, 5, 6, 8 of these little guys all joined together, all doggy paddling. And all of a sudden now they were making a lot more progress. And I was extraordinarily happy with how we'd gone from a simple single cellular life to very basic to a macro multicellular life form, which had cooperation going on to accomplish its particular mission. And I was extremely interested in this, and I wanted to explore more when all of a sudden I got this weird signal, kind of like I was being pulled, but I knew it wasn't my body summoning me back because I was so far into the future. I knew I had a lot of time. And I spent a lot of energy getting here, so I was looking forward to spending a lot of time here, at least a number of days, if not several weeks. Because when I get back at home, it wouldn't be more than 10 minutes or maybe or so in the present time. But then the signal seemed to like lock onto me and just yank me out. I lost consciousness. The next thing I knew, I was standing in front of the Galactic Council and I was pissed off. So the first thing they said to me is, we'd like to discuss your actions in the recent gray coup. If you recall, I was sent by the council, much against my initial judgment, to visit the gray planet and try to find out why they'd lost contact with the council. They begged me, oh, please go. I said, okay, fine, I'll go. But number one, no notes. Number two, no supervisors. I'm going to do what I'm going to do. You're going to have to trust my judgment. That was the proviso. And here they were, looking somewhat stern at me. And I guess they'd been briefed by my guide, who I had told him what happened. And he said he'd inform the council. And as far as I was concerned, the matter was closed. But apparently, according to the council, the matter was not closed. And they started interrogating me. Why did you get involved in this coup attempt? We just wanted you to go and contact the government and find out what was going on. And I said, first of all, you sent me into the middle of a coup. I didn't want to go. You sent me there, and that's where I appeared, in the middle of this coup. I did not in any way participate in this. I was nothing more than someone who monitored what was going on. I didn't interfere. I wasn't asked to interfere. I just accompanied my friend, first of all, Ken, and because he was the one who was trying to restore what he considered tradition against some rogue council members who were new, because the previous three had been obliterated in the Masters' War, and it's a big deal for the Greys because they had the same council for thousands of years because of their method of artificial reincarnation, if you will. They use technology to clone an identical body, and then they also use some technology, which I don't comprehend, to take the soul, you might say. I don't have a better word for it. It's not the exact word, but it's something like that. And put it back into another body, and on they go. They're a very traditional people, very stable society. So losing these three councils destabilized things, and these new counselors, evidently, I think, had been influenced by the wrong people. And they were trying to pull the Greys away from the council and try to, quote, reassert their planetary dominance and restore their place in the galaxy. So all I did was what you wanted me to do. Go find out what was going on, and I monitored the situation. So they started questioning my judgment as associated with that. And I said, wait a minute. As I said, I sent there with no notes, and I wanted no supervisor. So if you're not happy with my performance, then consider this my resignation. And by the way, don't try pulling me away when I'm doing research somewhere else. I don't appreciate it one bit. So, okay, are we done here now? I formally resign. I'm going to go back to doing what I wanted to do. And then something weird happened that I was not expecting. I'm going to use the English word please don't, because that's the best English word I can think of. But it doesn't really convey the meaning behind how, what they said or what they communicated to me. In certain languages on earth, English isn't really a good example of it, but take Spanish, for example. Based on your social situation, where you stand in the society, your relationships with people who are friends, who are relatives, who are older than you, who are respected and considered higher socially than you are. If you're talking with a friend, you'll use the word to, your social equals. And as such, that means you, and it's used for friends, people you're familiar with, social equals. However, if you're dealing with someone you don't know, someone who's older, someone who deserves your respect, you would probably use the word usted. Or, of course, there's also words in Spanish like don, which really means like the big boss, big respect. So the way they addressed me, and this kind of came to me telepathically, was in a deferential way. They were using a deferential type of communication, not the type of communication they've had with me in the past. So it made me pause because I was getting ready to leave. I said, okay, what? They said, please don't resign. We need you to be the ambassador to what you call the planet of the Greys. I said, interesting. Why? They said, well, one of the new counselors and the lead counselor is someone who you call Ken. And he and the council has personally requested and indeed insisted, that's the kind of behind meaning behind the way they were talking, that you be the formal council diplomat to the Gray planet. And I said, well, I guess you're going to have to tell them no. And then at that, they were definitely a little bit upset, well, a lot upset, a little bit concerned, a little bit frightened. And they said, and once again, they did the same thing, showing deference to me. And at that, I said, okay, I'm going to say this again. I will take this job, but it's going to be done my way. And I'm not going to look for any more interrogations like this, nor are you going to be pulling me away from what I'm doing on the astral plane. You can contact me, and if you like, you can contact me through my guide. Matter of fact, that's how you can contact me. Is that understood? They're like, oh yes, that's fine. We'll do that. I said, okay, well now I'm going to leave. And then they said, well, one more thing. I was like, okay, what? We know you're familiar with what you call the Havenites, or what you call the planet Haven. I said, yeah, what about them? They said, well, we've heard about them. We weren't familiar with them before. I said, yeah, they keep to themselves. And they said, well, we've heard that they're highly evolved, and we'd like you to go to the planet and see if you can get them to join the Galactic Council. Well, that took me aback. I wasn't expecting that. So I thought about it for a second. And I said, well, I'll go and I'll speak with them. But I'm not going to do a sales job on joining the council. I'm going to tell them the good points, and I'm going to tell them the not so good points. And whatever they decide is going to be the law. And that's it. So those are the terms. If you have any problems with what I've just said, let me know now. And there was, oh no, that's acceptable. We accept that. I said, Okay, then I guess my next stop is the planet Haven. Well, you're going to have to wait until January to see what happens. I want to thank everyone for all your support this year. I want everyone to enjoy the holiday season. Uh, you know, have fun, meet with relatives, meet with friends. Uh, be thankful for everything that's happened to you this year. There's good things, there's bad things, but hey, if you're of good health, good spirits, and you've got good people around you, there's a lot to be thankful for. So I just want to extend my thanks to everyone. If you like this, please hit the like button, share it with those of like minds, subscribe if you haven't already. If you have, make sure the bell's on so you find out when those Wednesday afternoon and Saturday morning videos are posted. And I always like your questions and comments. You know that. And as always, this is Rick, and I will see you on the astral plane in 2023.